Hello everybody, this is Kelly Vaughn from KUTV. I'm coming to you live from Layton. We're at the scene where a 25-year-old woman was killed.
I feel lucky and blessed, like someone was out looking out for me, but I also feel for her family and for her, because I just can't even imagine what she went through during those moments and what her family's going through. I feel.
Ashlyn Black was born on February 14th, 1995 in Layton, Utah. She worked at Avenues Proper, where every new hire remembered her as the person who made them feel at home on day one. Nirvana on repeat, vintage shops on weekends, hiking trails whenever she could. She planned to adopt a child with Down syndrome someday, to be a mother. On the evening of May 23, 2020, Ashlyn opened Tinder. She matched with Ethan Hunsaker, 24, also from Layton. He seemed fine. They made plans to meet. May 23, 2020, Hunsaker picked Ashlyn up from her home around 9 p.m. They went to a bar in Layton. Drinks, conversation. No red flag Ashlyn could see. When they left, they went to his apartment at 1319 North Reed Avenue, a 3-bedroom unit he rented alone, still largely unfurnished. They fell asleep together on the bedroom floor. At 3:19 a.m., Hunsaker woke up. Ashlyn was still asleep, her arm resting across him. He began choking her, as hard as he could, for approximately 1 minute. She fought back. She hit him in the neck, arms, and shoulders. He got up, walked to the kitchen, retrieved a pocket knife, 4-inch blade. Came back, stabbed her between 5 and 10 times, chest, side, back. Then he sat there. For 10 minutes, he watched.
We have a male on the line saying he wants to die and that he killed someone. He doesn't know who he has killed, but that it occurred at that address.
I suspect wants us to shoot him. Blood on the floor, looks unconscious, not moving.
He said he didn't really know her. They'd only met on Tinder. He made suicidal statements throughout the call. Officers arrived and found Ashlyn Black face down on the bedroom floor. A knife lay nearby. Layton Fire Department attempted life-saving measures. It was too late. Ashlyn Black was pronounced dead at the scene. Hunsaker didn't make investigators work for a single detail. He walked them through everything: the choking, the knife, the stabs, the 10 minutes he sat and watched. He said the date had been normal. She hadn't done anything. He had no reason. There was no argument. I don't know why I did it. I have daily thoughts of killing and suicide. I wanted you to come shoot me.
News of a 25-year-old stabbed to death while on a Tinder date. Here's where it happened. It happened at the suspect's home at 1319 North Reed Drive in Layton. Police say dispatch first got the call early. This is about 3:20 in the morning. And Nicole, this is a story that is hard to make sense of. What are you learning tonight?
Well, Nick, we've been talking to neighbors this evening, and they say it's very hard to even come to grips that something like this has happened in their neighborhood.
It's just weird, to be honest, because we've lived here over 2 years, and I love living here. It's a relatively quiet neighborhood. Guys with like hazmat suits and booties on were over there. That's not like your typical scene you wake up to.
Coleman says he would see Ethan outside from time to time.
I waved at him a couple times mowing his lawn, and he seemed like an all right guy.
Super scary. I mean, you kind of hear about these things, but they're not necessarily 3 houses down from you.
Officers located a female lying on the floor of the home, having sustained multiple stab wounds to the torso. The motive behind the homicide is under further investigation. However, the attack appears to have been unprovoked.
The 24-year-old woman, who police have not identified yet, died at the scene.
He was arrested without resistance, booked into Davis County Jail on suspicion of first-degree murder. He was held without bail. No prior criminal history in Utah. It was only now, with Hunsaker in custody and a full investigation underway, that the picture of who he really was began to come into focus. And what investigators found was deeply unsettling. Ethan Hunsaker had worked for a concrete company. He had once been the goofy young guy at work, always with something ridiculous to say, always making the crew laugh. Then a breakup happened. He separated from his ex-wife and something in him shifted. He went from goofy to just nobody wanted to be around him. Very melancholy. He started coming in late. He eventually lost that job after an altercation with a female coworker. In that same period, he had been making dark comments about harming women. His colleagues had noticed. Hunsaker had been diagnosed with multiple mental health illnesses and was on prescribed medication. He told officers he experienced daily thoughts of suicide and homicide.
Tonight, police have identified the woman stabbed to death on a Tinder date. Ashlyn Black of Layton was 25 years old. In the last year, she is the second young woman here in Utah killed by a man that she met on a dating app.
In a statement, Black's family called her accused killer a monster. Hunsaker is being held without bond and faces charges, including first-degree murder. Chris Martinez, CBS News.
In the weeks before the murder, he had been mentally planning ways to kill and kidnap others. He had expressed a wish to be shot and killed by police. He had no prior criminal record, but the ideation had been building for months. After Ashlyn's murder, a woman named Autumn Daly came forward. She had seen the news. She recognized the name immediately. Autumn had worked with Hunsaker at Lagoon Amusement Park back in 2009. Then, in the year leading up to the murder, he found her on Instagram and started asking her out. It was every day at first, then every other day. Texts, requests to meet, plans she kept deflecting. The last message she received from him came just days before Ashlyn Black was killed. This last month, it was like every other day, him asking me to make plans or do something. I did get a weird vibe, and I think that's what stopped me from ever going out with him. That instinct saved her life. She kept saying no until he stopped texting. Then he opened Tinder. Then Ashlyn swiped right. The timing was chilling. Autumn was the woman he had been fixating on. When she closed the door, he turned to an app. And Ashlyn walked through without knowing any of it.
Daly actually worked with the alleged killer back in 2009. Now, they were friendly, they never dated, but she says it wasn't until last year that he started bombarding her with text messages trying to meet up. She was trying to be nice and let him know that she wasn't interested. The most recent text was actually last week. She says she never felt that she was in danger or that he was aggressive, but that he was very persistent.
I did get a weird vibe, and I think that's kind of what stopped me from ever hanging out with him.
From Instagram to Snapchat.
Overbearing. Just can't take no for an answer.
Autumn Daly says his text messages were all the same.
In this last month, it's been like every other day, him asking me to make plans or do something.
She often didn't respond, and when she did, she politely declined the invitations, even one asking for her to come to his house.
He had mentioned that he just feels like he has no one to talk to and he doesn't have any friends, and that's kind of why he was reaching out to me so often.
And when she heard the news of what had happened over the weekend, she was shocked.
I've known him for 11 years, and that could have been me.
She says she's glad she followed her gut, but is heartbroken for the family who lost their daughter to this senseless crime.
I feel lucky and blessed, like someone was out looking out for me, but I also feel for her family and for her, because I just can't even imagine what she went through during those moments and what her family's going through.
Such a heartbreaking situation. Now, Daly says that he had mentioned that he was going through a divorce, which is something that she believes is the reason why he wanted to connect with someone. Now, Dave, a quick search of his criminal history shows that he really doesn't have anything in his record. But again, trying to piece together everything that's happened in the last couple of days.
This is one of those cases where it's not a mystery, right? But it's more about why did it happen and how should the system of justice deal with it. You've got someone who's homicidal and suicidal, clearly dealing with some mental issues, which will play a role and a huge part in the way this man is defended. But for the victim's family, I mean, think about what happened here. She's just going out on a Tinder date. Hours later, an atrocious crime scene, but it seems like investigators have enough to put all of this together. So the issue will be the mental state of the defendant now and what his mental state was at the time of this alleged killing. But as I said, as he gets into court, we should get much more information about the evidence and the manner and cause and everything else associated in that case. So we'll continue to track that one for you right here on Core TV.
1 month after the murder, Hunsaker appeared via video feed before Judge John Morris. His attorney, C. Markley Arrington, entered a plea of not guilty. To many, especially those who had read the confession, this felt absurd. But legally, this was routine. In the U.S. criminal system, a defendant almost always pleads not guilty at arraignment, even when a full confession exists. It is not a denial of what happened. It simply keeps every legal option open. Time to investigate, request evaluations, review evidence, build strategy. Arrington immediately signaled a psychiatric evaluation was coming. The real battle was forming, not over whether Hunsaker did it, but over the question of his mind.
Victim advocates like Jen Oxborough are concerned that on social media, people are blaming the victim.
It doesn't matter what anyone chooses to do. They never deserve to be hurt or killed.
Oxborough says people using dating apps is not the problem.
This is something that's a reality. This is how people date. And Tinder is the most frequently used dating app that I'm aware of in our culture right now.
She says this case highlights the ongoing problem of violence perpetrated against women by men they know or trust.
And so we need to remember that this was a choice to enact violence by the person who perpetrated the violence, and that's where the responsibility lies.
Judge Morris ordered Hunsaker held without bail. A psychological evaluation was requested. Months passed. Ashlyn's family waited. June 30th, 2021. Over a year after his initial plea, Hunsaker returned to court. The plea changed, and so did everything. Hunsaker was guilty, but mentally ill. He pleaded guilty to first-degree murder, but added the mental illness designation. This was not a deal with the prosecution. Deputy Prosecutor Jason Nelson made that clear. No negotiation had taken place. Hunsaker's attorney filed it unilaterally. This plea is a specific legal designation in Utah. It does not mean the person is not responsible for the crime. They are still fully convicted and sentenced. What it does is create a pathway. If a judge independently agrees the defendant is currently mentally ill, they can be ordered to receive psychiatric treatment before they begin serving their prison sentence.
New developments in the case of a young woman brutally murdered on a first date. The alleged killer has pleaded guilty.
Utah law asked only one question. Is he mentally ill right now today? If yes, the hospital comes first. Prison comes after. The sentence length does not change. For Ashlyn's family, this was the first moment, outside of law enforcement briefings, that they heard out loud exactly what had happened to her in those final minutes. They heard it come from him.
It's a very emotional case for the family.
Joshua Egan is the attorney for Ashlyn's family, and today that family is feeling some relief. This morning, Hunsaker pleaded guilty to first-degree murder.
There was a strong sense of relief that the case is finally progressing again. It's been in limbo for over a year now, without really clear direction where it was going to go.
Hunsaker also pleaded mentally ill. Prosecutors say that doesn't change the fact that he still could spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Doesn't exonerate them or excuse the conduct at all. It holds defendants accountable by giving them an appropriate sentence. But if there's specialized treatment that is needed because of their mental illness, then it addresses that as well.
We determined that a plea offer would not be appropriate and that the defendant should plead guilty to murder or that we should take the case to trial.
February 22nd, 2022. 19 members of Ashlyn's family arrived. The courtroom's usual limit was 5. Judge Connors overrode it. All 19 could enter, masks required. 3 were allowed to speak. Avery Black walked in wearing a black dress, the same color as the dress Ashlyn wore when she was cremated. Ashlyn's sister. Avery Black said, "When I found out, it felt like the earth opened up beneath me and I fell into it. I live with paralyzing anxiety now. I'm scared to go outside at night. I'm scared to date. There will never be justice for Ashlyn." Hunsaker's attorney argued that prison would not give his client the mental health care he needed. The prosecutor's position was short and direct. Hunsaker had shown no remorse. Judge Connors reviewed the mental health evaluation. It confirmed active suicidal and homicidal ideation. Hunsaker was, in the eyes of the court, presently mentally ill. Connors made his ruling. Under the guilty but mentally ill ruling, Judge Connors found that Hunsaker posed an immediate danger to himself and others if placed directly into a correctional setting. Utah law allows a stabilization period at the Utah State Hospital before the prison sentence begins. The 18-month cap ensures this cannot be used to indefinitely delay incarceration. Once stabilized, or once 18 months elapse, Hunsaker transfers to Utah State Prison to serve his minimum 15-year sentence. The conviction and sentence length never changed. Her mother, Jamie, says she had a fierce, almost stubborn love for the people around her, and an empathy so deep she could feel strangers' pain as her own.